Okay, let's start. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuhu, everyone, brothers and sisters. I hope you've got your daily step count done. It's now time to sit down and pick up your notebook and for another session of the now famous in Keston Speaker's Corner. I'm super excited. I wanted to hear from the next guest for a long time. Today's esteemed guest is Dr. Shameela Zulfiqar, who will be taking us through her journey and the topic of Islam, humanitarianism and community. So Sister Shameela is a proud mother of 6, medical doctor, businesswoman, community and humanitarian activist. She has an MA in humanitarianism and conflict response. She has assisted on several humanitarian aid convoys to Syria since the start of the conflict, delivering aid to those in need and treating the injured in the Syrian hospitals. She's also volunteered in humanitarian missions on Gaza, Pakistan, Bosnia, Calais, and I can't even pronounce that. So I'm going to skip that one. And more recently, Rohingya. Before I hand over to Shameela, reminder for the audience to type out your questions. And for those who are on YouTube Live, put your questions on the live chat and someone will read them out at the end. And now over to Sister Shameela. Assalamu alaikum. Please begin.
Alaikum salam. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I hope you're all well and maximizing the precious, blessed days of Ramadan that we have here. Firstly, Jazakallah khair to Aves and the team for inviting me to speak. I'm very humbled. Secondly, I've never done this kind of online thing, so I'm kind of a techno dinosaur. So I'm going to apologize in advance of any shortcomings on that front. And thirdly, and I suppose this is a disclaimer that I'm not a scholar of Islam, but I am a student of Islam, and I'll be talking about how I use my faith to talk, to basically to be productive in the humanitarian sector for the work that I do. All mistakes are from me, all shortcomings are from me, and anything good is from the Lord of the worlds, the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. We don't have a lot of time. 30 minutes is not a lot of time to cover everything that I want to cover, but I'm going to start with a little context and introduction to how I came to be in the humanitarian sector and my journey to it. So I was born in London at 16 years old, probably from 12 to 15 years old. I'd always wanted to be a pilot, and I was always encouraged. I had a very kind of academic centered family. And I remember when I wanted to be a pilot, well, before I even wanted to be a pilot, I wanted to be an air hostess because it was something that appealed, the glamour of traveling around the world. And I remember saying this to my dad as a 12, 13-year-old, saying, Dad, I want to be an air hostess. And my dad said, Beta, serving food on the ground, serving food in the air, what is the difference? Why don't you go to the front of the plane? And it was a really important message for me. I mean, that's no disrespect to air hostesses or anybody that does serve food on the ground, but it was something that was instilled from us from a very young age to really try to strive and reach for the stars and set your bar high. So I had all these notions. I wanted to be a pilot and fly the world. I wasn't going to get married, wasn't going to have kids. I was going to adopt my kids. The reality is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a bigger plan for me. I thought my plan was great, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a better plan for me. And I ended up getting married at 16 and had 4 kids in 5 years. So I had to keep my feet quite firmly on the ground. So I essentially set up a business. I still run that business, bridal hair, makeup and henna. And I used to really do that when the children were young. So often I would put the kids would still be in bed. I'd go do my 2 or 3 brides and come back and they would still be asleep. So, and then, after I was just talking to Aves before, when you're at home for 7 years and, your kids you've got 4 kids under the age of 5, your your brain actually starts to turn to mush, and all your conversations are baby language. Aves mentioned that I'm a mother of 6. Two of my children are married, and I consider those their spouses my children as well. So I looked to going back to educating, and I essentially did my A-levels and my medical degree and my foundation training and my GP training as a mother of 4 and a business owner. And, you know, it was a journey that was very unconventional. So I was, you know, going to university with people that were single, had no kind of other commitments, struggling to just get through uni life. And I was here juggling a family, juggling my in-laws, because I used to live in an extended family at the time. And just generally trying to, as you know, my previous dean said, juggle all the balls in the air. So after my GP training, during my GP training, actually, it was I think it was 2013, where I was blessed really to be able to travel to Gaza as part of a convoy. We traveled 4 times during that year. My first experience of humanitarian work abroad actually came, you know, I don't believe in coincidence. Everything happens because you're meant to be there. Was actually 3 years previous to that for the Pakistan floods. I had colleagues that had swapped their shifts around so that I could go and, you know, really provide medical relief on the ground. So I went to Syria. I came back from Syria, and in 2013, I actually realized that I was never going to be the kind of doctor that was going to sit behind a desk, with no disrespect to my colleagues that do. I left the NHS in 2013 with the, you know, caveat that I could always go back whenever the time was right, but I wanted to dedicate more time to the third sector and charity work. So I volunteered with a number of different organizations. Currently, I'm working with an organization called Syria Relief. We are providing medical relief and food aid and orphan support, all of these kinds of things inside Syria, as one of the only dedicated charities to Syria. In taking on that role, I became a woman of many hijabs. I took on multiple roles. I'm a mother, a daughter, a granddaughter, a daughter-in-law, so I have a whole extended family through them. Being a medical doctor, any of my colleagues that are listening that are medical doctors, you'll know that you're never off duty. You become the community doctor for all of your community and people that know you, and especially during COVID-19. I think when people were having difficulty getting hold of their doctors, they would, you know, I was probably having 4 or 5 different people ringing me in the day, just worried about symptoms, needing reassurance. So I'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of the local response. So COVID has brought with it its own kind of new normality, you know, almost dystopic. We could never have thought that a tiny little virus can bring the entire world to a standstill. And, you know, through that, there have been so many different opportunities and, you know, opportunities to do good. So some of the things that we've been doing up in the north, we set up a food bank from scratch at our local mosque, because we heard that lots of food banks were closing. Churches that had food banks that were attached to them were closing. So we set up a food bank, and we were we still are essentially sending out basic essentials every single day to the elderly in the community, sending out healthcare packs and providing support for the people that need it. Now, trying to balance all of that it takes preparation. it takes preparedness, because you know, we're in this blessed month. I mean, COVID happened before Ramadan, so we had some time to kind of assess what was coming, and the fact that Ramadan was not going to be normal this year, and we would have to adjust the way that we do things, adjust the way that we worship, adjust the fact that, you know, most things had to be done from home. And, you know, with that comes, you know, learning new skills, me learning how to use Zoom, for example, for meetings, or Microsoft Teams. But the reason why I, you know, felt that I had to do something in my own community was because we are the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, the greatest humanitarian that walked on this earth. And we have to take our examples from him, and from, you know, the Salaf, the Sahabas that, you know, came before us. Many of them, there are so many examples about, you know, how important charity is in Islam, and, you know, how we should be applying that practically. You know, we were told to clothe the orphan and feed the poor. We weren't told to clothe the Muslim orphan or feed the Muslim poor. So, you know, it's been an amazing opportunity. I mean, some of us are working in the community, and we will carry out this work regularly. But I know that there are lots of people that are sitting, watching, that may not have had an opportunity to do something, you know, to get out of their comfort zone. And I think there were a lot of limitations with COVID, as in, you know, lots of people had to stay indoors. I had my 70-year-old mother and my 90-year-old grandmother. Basically, they were in London. I went down, I could see what was happening 8-9 weeks ago. I could see what was happening in Italy. And I said, you can either self-isolate, the two of you, or you can come back with the doctor. And they came back with me. So they've been with me for 8 weeks. So I've had to really be very careful about how to balance the volunteer activities that we're doing and mitigating the risk to them for me going in and out of the house. But there are lots of things that you can do from just in, you know, from at home as well. And I'll go into some of that later on. I just want to remind you of one of the stories that I always refer to. Well, there's a couple actually. And I won't go into the entire story, but, you know, the story of when everyone knows there was a lot of good competition between Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar radiallahu anhu about doing good. And Umar was always, you know, trying to outdo Abu Bakr Siddiq. And there was a time where he could see this figure going out, really, you know, and followed him to this elderly lady's house. And he would go and he'd say, so what do you need help with? And she would say, oh, this man comes and he cleans up for me, and he, you know, he feeds me. So he would try and copy him and do the same thing. And the lady was blind, and one day he would go earlier and earlier and earlier. And one day Umar radiallahu anhu said, I'm going to go myself, and I'm going to go really early, and I'm going to make sure I get that ajr before he does. And he got there before Abu Bakr Siddiq. And when he was feeding the lady, she said, you're not the usual person that comes, are you? And he said, no, why? And she said, because that man comes and he chews the hard bread in his own mouth before he puts it in my mouth. You know, if the greatest caliphs, leaders, sahabas could worry about their, you know, the vulnerable people in their community at that time, what excuse have you and me got? The other story is about Umar radiallahu anhu, when he was out and about as Amir al-Mu'mineen. He would go to see the needs of the people, and he passed by a man who was saying, oh Allah, make me of the few. Oh Allah, make me of the few. And Amir al-Mu'mineen said, asked him, what do you mean by that? And he said, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specified in the Quran that there will be many people that will be led astray, and there will be very few that will take on the message of what my Quran is saying. And I ask Allah to be of the few. And at that, Amir al-Mu'mineen started crying, saying, the people know more than you, Amir al-Mu'mineen. But they would always strive to be of the few, to be the people that got out of their comfort zones, to do something for other people. And these examples are, definitely they play a important role in why I do what I do. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what we've been doing during COVID-19. I have to say that Ramadan 2020, albeit has been so different, it's been probably the most productive Ramadan of my entire life. Alhamdulillah, I am probably running on about 3 hours sleep every night. I tend not to sleep after Fajr because I think, the barakah is in the morning. And there are so many examples in the Sunnah to say that, this is, if you want to get your things done in the morning and then maybe sleep for a little while in the afternoon so that you can have, you can fulfill the Sunnah of sleeping and taking a nap in the afternoon. So apart from medicining and makeuping, I'm a governor at a local school. I am head chef at the house of Zulfiqar. I challenged myself this Ramadan to send out a daily reminder that I write in the morning, try and do that in the morning when I have some time just to reflect. And I also cook one recipe every single day. I cook the recipe. It is like the working parents' guide to cooking. It is very quick. My son, bless him, my youngest is 21 now, and he set up a YouTube channel because he knows mum's not very techno. And every day I will share a recipe that will save people time, because I think the biggest gift that you can give people is time. It's in such short supply, and if you can do or show someone how to save time, then maybe they can use that time for things that are more meaningful and that may result in actions that enjoin good. I always call it sowing the seeds of Sadaqah Jariyah wherever you go, because that's really important. And we can do that with the people that we speak to over the phone, the good words that we say. We find out about how our neighbors are doing, how our relatives are doing. Not everything is about, all right, going out and, out of your home. As COVID has taught us, it's about making sure that you are productive with your time and you account for your time. I'm a community cook, so apart from cooking the daily things that I cook for you guys and everybody in the social media world, I cook for the homeless. So, and I've been doing that for a few years now. I learned how to cook in bulk. And, sometimes you take inspiration from different things. I took inspiration. I attended a janazah once, a good few years ago, and there were so many people at that janazah, all from different walks of life. So I didn't know the lady, I didn't know the sister. Her name is Amdul, and I ask at this blessed time that everybody makes dua for her, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives her the most beautiful abode in Jannah. I spoke to her sister. I found out how, I said, sister, what did your sister do? What would describe her? What kind of a person was she? And she said, she couldn't, she was a big lady. She couldn't really do that much, but what she could do was cook. And off the back of her cooking, there was a whole orphanage that was run in for Syrian children in Lebanon. And, that really resonated with me, because I thought, well, hang on a sec, I can cook, and I can cook in large amounts. If you are married into an Asian family, you will definitely know how to cook for the masses. And that's what I thought, well, I can use that skill. I can utilize it. And I have been cooking for the homeless now for probably about 6-7 years now, where I try and make it a weekly thing, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves consistency, at small actions, but consistent. And I tend to, when I cook, when I do a batch cook, it could be anything from 60 to 150 meals right from my kitchen, to hungry bellies that I won't ever see. I've only ever attended the actual distribution of the food twice in 5 years. I never see what the end point is, neither do I need to see where the end point is. I just know that if you are making things for Allah's sake, and you are putting in the effort and striving for Allah's sake, then He will never waste your effort. He will never waste your effort, and He will make sure that that effort reaches the people that most need it. And you make dua for that as well. And the other thing that I think is really important is that you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to stretch time for you. You ask for barakah in time and health and piety and rizq, because you really can't go wrong if your supplication is sincere. So when I'm talking about sowing seeds of sadaqah jariyah, this is a seed of sadaqah jariyah. You know, I hope that people will be inspired from the kind of crazy life that I led. But, you know, even taking small, aspects of that and saying, you know what, I can do that. I can cook. I utilized my skills as a hair makeup henna artist to do many charity events over the years, and also to provide services for, you know, people that really need it, like cancer patients that have lost their hair, or people that, you know, are feeling generally just, in a low mental health state, and they just need a bit of a pick me up. It's about utilizing. If you're a techie, then, you know, like my son Ibrahim has, I couldn't have actually done any of these recipes or shared them with anybody if it hadn't been for COVID, because he usually works in London, so he was home for this stretch of time and isolating with us. So it was him that put them together. He used his skills to hopefully be a part of that sadaqah jariyah. I think accounting for your time and evaluating every action is very, very important. Everything that you do needs to have a reflection, right? Every action needs to be, is this going to be good for my deen and dunya? Is it going to be not good for my deen and dunya? You know, is it going to benefit me? Is it not going to benefit me? Is sitting with those people that are chatting about other people, is that going to benefit me? No, it's not. And that means online as well. You know, if we really took ourselves to task about the things that we do and the actions that we take, we would be a lot more God conscious. And, you know, part of that, you know, in a day would be, you know, we've been told to guard our salah, and our salah, and I'm going to talk specifically from my own experience. I found that when I was balancing my schedule around my salah rather than my salah around my work, I had a lot more barakah in the day. So I know that between Fajr and Zuhr and Asr, and between Asr and Maghrib, and between Maghrib and Isha, there's a certain amount of time, and there's certain things that I want to do. So if we take Ramadan, for example, specifically, I didn't want to take on the roles that I'm taking on for the COVID local response, or for the charity work that I'm doing abroad for the refugees. I didn't want that to come at the expense of my salah, or my daily askar, or for my Quran. And I mean, if you know, I've led a very, very full and I would say blessed and busy life. And, you know, it's been a while since I've been able to finish the Quran in Ramadan. And, you know, I would stick by the notion that, you know, actually quality is better than quantity. It doesn't matter if I don't finish it, so long as what I'm reading, I'm understanding, and I am applying it to my life. But, you know, when I say this Ramadan has been the most productive, I think Ramadan is a time that is the only time that has basically allowed Muslims to run on minus 10% battery, but at 200% productivity, if that's what they want to do, since the last 1400 years. And this year, I finished my Quran from Ramadan last year to the first day of Ramadan this year with meaning. It took me a year to read it through my schedule. And alhamdulillah, I am on par with the days of the month so far. I'm, and I am set, alhamdulillah, inshallah, to finish the Quran in Ramadan this year. I haven't been able to do the whole juz a day. In fact, some of it has been binge reading. So where I felt like I had to catch up, I would not sleep after Ramadan. I would go to a local park after Fajr. We've had a few sunny days, which is very unusual for Manchester. And I would just sit in the park and no distractions at that time because everybody else is asleep. And I would binge read 5 juz. And that journey with meaning, to be able to go through the story of Musa alayhi salam and Yusuf alayhi salam, and what the reminders were, what the trials and tribulations were that they went through, and then the Battle of Badr and the expedition of Tabuk, and why these surahs were revealed and what time. To have that journey in nature, connecting to God, is what we are lacking. Generally in the dunya, because we just, it's very, you have to be very disciplined to make sure that you are, you are getting everything done, and it's not coming at the expense of your spiritual life. Remaining in wudu as much as you can, I think, is also another tip that I would definitely recommend. And it's an invisible, I call it my invisible protection from the shaitan, because his main tricks are deception and distraction. And that's been since the beginning of time, from Adam alayhi salam. Deception, because he makes you think that what you're doing is so important that you end up missing salah. You become, you don't even realize you've missed it. And distraction, because you may intend to do a good deed, and it happens all the time where you want to send that message, or you want to make a donation or whatever, and then something else comes up, and when it comes up, you end up forgetting to do that, and that good deed is, that time is gone. So it's really important to stay on top of these things. Once you've got your 5 daily prayers in check, I think the next important thing to implement in your life, and I'm talking about, when I'm saying in your life, I mean in your children's lives as well. Excuse me. You need to make sure that they are protected, and the best way to protect ourselves is to make sure that we have our daily askar. I use an app. I'll show you if you don't have it already. We've got no excuse. You have it on your phone. Is the I don't know if you can see it, but it's the Dua and Askar app. I'll send it to the organizers later on for anyone that wants to download it onto their phone. If you don't have time to actually sit and physically read it, just play it on in your journey on the way to work in the morning, or on your journey on the way back. And these, if you knew that there was going to be a sniper sat outside your house, you're not just going to walk outside and unprotected, are you? Shaitan has promised us that he is going to approach us from the right, the left, from front, behind, everywhere, because he has promised that he wants to drag us to where he's going, and then he's going to wash his hands of us. So we've got to make sure that we are protecting ourselves, that we've got no holes in our armor. And when I say you need to stay connected to the Quran, I can't emphasize it enough. That is our life code. Most households have a Quran that's gathering dust on their shelves. Hopefully it comes out annually at Ramadan, but now we've got no excuse. We've got phones, we've got everything is at our fingertips. But really, it's not just about reading the Quran, it's about understanding the message and the words that God has told us through his Habib, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is understanding how to implement that and basically to apply it to our lives, especially in the 21st century. I talked about barakah in the morning. I can't emphasize enough how much you need to teach your children, lead by example. If you are doing it, then the likelihood is that your children are going to learn from your example. If you're not getting up, or you're not, reading your fajr, or you're missing, one of the hadith that really makes me sit up and take notice is that, the hypocrites will find fajr and isha difficult. And so, we have to lead by example. I'm, one of the other things that I am doing at the moment is mentoring students from the University of Manchester and from Manchester Met. And I often say that these are also like our seeds of Sadaqah Jariyah. One of the things that I will talk to the youth about, and I think that there is a real, we have a real crisis in terms of role models for children. The focus of today's society is on individualism and also about me, myself, and I. And Islam is a religion, it's a social religion. We were not taught to, make everything about ourselves. It was about what we can do, what benefit we can be to society. And, we have a responsibility to the next generation. And if we are not careful, we will have other people writing the narrative and the roles for our generations to come. We have to take the time out, and when I mean we, I mean parents, both parents, mothers, fathers, have to be responsible in the tarbiyah of the family. I couldn't do the things, I run a very tight ship. My kids will tell you I run a very tight ship. But the fact that we are, we've always had discipline around, and gentle discipline, when it comes to the Quran. I know people that got put off Islam completely because, they used to, their only introduction to Islam was through a 2-hour session after school at the local madrasa where they got beats. And, that really it's not Islam at all. I never sent my children to a mosque to learn their Quran, only because I based on my experience of living in East London and, my friends learning how to wax their legs in the local mosque, I thought there's just not the supervision and not the attention that the children need. And I actually had a very good friend. She was an Algerian Quran teacher for the local prep school that they were educating at. She gave them the best gift that I could never have given them. I remember after school driving to, after being at med school and then driving to 3 different places to pick my children up. One was at the swimming, one was having swimming lessons. From there, I was waiting outside the Quran teacher's house for an hour doing my revision for my medical degree. It was a bit of a crazy life. But when I stand behind my sons or daughters when they recite the Quran in the manner that it was supposed to be recited, Allahumma barik, I know that sacrifice has been worth it. And many of you have got young children at the moment. I'm a grandma now, alhamdulillah, Allahumma barik. And our children are the love and the light of our lives. And sometimes, I know with COVID, it's been very, it's been testing to try and deal with, a schedule where the children don't have the boundaries or the discipline of school and they're in the home. But if we plan properly, plan the day out, plan what they're going to be doing during the day, what they're going to learn, and you do things as a family, and you do things with the right intention, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah in it. And I can honestly say that from experience. I could not do the things that I do without a supportive other half. He has been absolutely amazing. Allahumma barik. And he's been the wind beneath my wings. And I, when I talk in the community, I talk about also the men supporting the women as much as the women supporting the men. Great things happen when you work together. If you're all rowing in different directions, you're all going to go around in a circle. But yeah, I think the take-home messages that I would like you to go home with is to really we have a duty as Muslims. We have a narrative that's being written about us. When you have the right wing and people telling millions of people in this country that this is what Muslims are about, they are fanatics and they're extremists and they're this and they're that now. Well, the thing is, we can't just sit here and complain about it. We have to be the change that we want to see. So we have to make sure that there are enough people that we interact with. Everyone that you interact with is a seed for Sadaqah Jariyah, even if they're horrible to you. You have the choice of being, displaying how the akhlaq and the good manners that Hazrat used to have. And there will be, trust me, there will be plenty of tests in life. But we have to make sure that we are the best of people. We've come from the best of ummahs, and we have a duty of care to those that are vulnerable, both in the society, in the locality that we live in, and also those that are further away. I'm happy to take questions about my crazy life and the kinds of things that I've been doing. If there's something that's inspired you from what I've said today, feel free to contact me and stay in touch. I have a broadcast list every day. I send out messages that are reminders or my recipes. I would just, I'd just like to end on my Quran. So my Quran is a copy that has an English translation and also the Arabic. Now, I know there's lots of translations out there, but this one here has the Arabic side by side with the translation. I can let the organizers know about what copy it is. Now, they're quite hard to get hold of, and I first was introduced to them with my tafsir class about 7-8 years ago. Couldn't get hold of these copies because they actually are printed in America, but they have a very simple translation. It was actually written for reverts, but it's a beautiful language, and it starts with the context of the surah, which tells you why this surah was revealed, where it was revealed, what the guidance is, what the issues are, and how we can apply it to our lives. And when we start to really apply our life code from the best of creators, we can, that's when we will see things change. That's when we will see that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is satisfied with us because we are striving. And I think the last thing I'm going to say is that you need to get out of your comfort zone if that's where you're at, because great things are never achieved being in one's comfort zone. Jazakallah khairan for listening. I hope I haven't gone on too much. I'm happy to take any questions.
Actually, I was going to say everything you said has actually inspired me. So really appreciate you taking this time to talk with us. One of our colleagues, Ahmed, has been poking me on the side in the chat because he's got a question to ask. So rather than ask a question myself, I'm going to hand over to him to ask his question.
No problem.
Assalamu alaikum, Shameela.
Walaikum salam, rahmatullah. How are you, brother?
Jazakallah khair for your inspiring words. One thing that's quite obvious that you're sort of highly driven and your effervescent personality comes across. On the subject of getting out of your comfort zone, how would you advise someone who doesn't have that drive and perhaps fizz to sort of get out of their comfort zone?
I didn't always have this drive. It's taken many years to get to this point, and I have a family that think I've gradually got pushed myself further and further and further. I think let me give you a little bit of context for anyone thinking, God, I can't do that. Yeah, I have lived a very full life, alhamdulillah. In 4 decades of my life, gives you a clue to how old I am. In 4 decades of my life, I have had 4 major operations, including a hysterectomy at 37. So I didn't always have the drive. In fact, but what I did do was pray for the drive, because I knew that I wanted to do something, you know, humanitarian related, and going into medicine was really, for me, it was, I know as Asians, we say to, you know, well, our kids are either doctors, lawyers, you know, or the failure in the family. But I, you know, when I went into medicine, it was with the intention that actually you have the opportunity to visit the sick every day and tend to their needs. And one of the things that being chronically ill taught me was that if you are alive and you are breathing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a roof over your head and food on your plate, you know, we are in the top 1% of the billions of people in the world. And these are blessings that we can never be thankful enough for. So I suppose, firstly, having gratitude for what you do have and what you can do in your capacity, actually sitting down to, you know, actually think about what skills you do have. You know, what is it that you can do? What was your vocation? And even if you didn't educate, what kinds of things can you do in society? If you are looking for an opportunity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that you're looking for an opportunity, it will be Him that provides the opportunities. You know, over the last 10 years, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has facilitated it. But through myself as a wasila, we've raised probably as a family of probably £2 million. Allahumma barik. And I always say, I didn't raise that money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised that money and He facilitated it through us. But I asked Him for the opportunity. I asked Him for every day for barakah in my time, my health, my piety, my rizq. And you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not fail to please. So I would say, in the first sense, making the intention to do more than what you can do to get out of your comfort zone. If you've got limitations, addressing what those limitations are and how you can, you know, how you can overcome them. And also know that no one time is going to be the same in your life. You might be going through a difficulty and think, well, I can't do any of that because I've got my own problems to deal with. But, you know, no time remains, you know, the same constantly. You know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, once you've had ill health for a long time, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a time, you run with it.
Okay, I have a question as well now.
Go on.
Being a woman of many hijabs, as you like to call it, which hijab was the most difficult to manage with your time?
I think the most difficult time was when I was doing my on-calls as a medic in hospital, because it would mean that I was away from my family. And, you know, it was that time where my children were approaching their teenage years. And, you know, because I'd done things so unconventionally, you know, you have to have your eye on the ball. You know, you need to know and be in tune with what your children are feeling or thinking. You know, you can't be that distracted or that busy that they don't have your ear, because if they don't have your ear, they'll have somebody else's. So you know, I think that was a particularly difficult time, but alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got me through it. And you know, I had a wonderful family to support. My parents would, you know, bless them, Allah bless them, would come up, leave their home in London and come and stay with us and make sure that the kids had their ear. But yeah, it was difficult because you know a lot of the times you'd go do nights and I couldn't sleep during the day because I had other responsibilities during the day. So I think if the fact that I can now survive on half a date and 3 hours sleep almost every day, and I mean for suhoor, it's half a date and a glass of water, and to do alhamdulillah everything that I do, that is nothing short of Allah's mercy that I can do that.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Jazakallah khair. So there's some people who've asked for your contact details. So what I'm going to do is ask them to email the masjid, and then I will email your contact details back to them.
That's absolutely fine. Jazakallah khairan for the opportunity.
It's all right, it's okay. Right, we've over time, which is okay. I want to ask you to do a dua, but before we do this, because everyone runs away once we've done the dua, we want to play a short 1.5-minute community video to illustrate how important the Al-Emaan Center has been to the community as a hub, a religious center, and builder of role models, which actually is very much in line with some of the topics that you discussed today. So please, everyone, be patient. We're just going to play this video now, and then Shameela, after that, if you could just end the session with a dua, I'll let you know, and then we can we'll get ready for iftar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Al-Emaan Nunes. I first became aware of Al-Emaan Center in 2016. Since that time, I have gotten to know many good people within the Al-Emaan community. First and fundamentally important, I have prayed many salah within the Al-Emaan Masjid, such as Tawari prayer, and it's always been a beautiful and a calm surroundings. In 2017, Al-Emaan hosted my wedding, which was a beautiful occasion. In 2018, Al-Emaan helped me to initiate and to develop the Feed the Homeless project, which has since gone on to be successful. Al-Emaan has continued to offer its support to this project. I have developed many lifelong, inshallah, relationships and friendships at Al-Emaan Center, and I support and continue to offer my support to Al-Emaan because of its good work and its help to the community and to people of all faiths in general. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best of people are those that bring the most benefit to mankind. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, everyone. So again, just a reminder, the Al-Emaan Center is not going to be eligible for furlough. So please give during these blessed 10 days. Jazakallah khair, so much. Appreciate your time, Shameela, for joining us all the way from the north. So Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah fikum. It was my pleasure.
You want to end the session in the dua?
Do I want to end on a dua?
You want to end the session with a dua? If that's okay, just a dua for the community. It can be in English as well. It doesn't have to be in Arabic.
Okay. I would like to, I suppose I'd just like to say that, oh Allah, this is that special time, Sa'at al-Istijaba, that, you know, your du'as are most likely to be accepted. Oh Allah, enable us to empower our communities, take from us that which makes you happy and earns your pleasure. Oh Allah, empower us to empower our youth and leave us with a legacy that is going to be a sadaqah jariyah for us for eternity, and allow us to be the Sahara, the support for the people that most need us in society, and allow us to be the role models that are based on the best of your creation, those that came before us, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I think that's it. That's all.
Jazakallah khair. No, that's Jazakallah khair. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Enjoy your iftar, and inshallah till next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.